Okay, hello everyone. My name is Dean Gokul. I'm the North America Commercial Marketing Manager for Mobil Lubricants, and it's really great to be back at IMTS and also to be here partnering with Stewart-Haas Racing to bring you this forum where we expect some entertainment, and some actionable insights to really help you bring those insights back to your business and really look for ways to be more productive when you think about how to run your operations back home. Before we start the discussion, though, I do want to take a moment to talk about our approach to working with businesses like yours and helping you solve your problems, and an approach that really will be reflected in today's panel. With our long history in machine shops, our team of engineers understands that you're bringing quality products to your customers, you're delivering upon commitments to your community, and all while maximizing your overall business performance. And our promise under our MobilServe brand is to provide you that expertise in addition to the quality products and services to help machine shop owners, operators, OEMs, and companies like Stewart-Haas Racing to achieve and exceed productivity and sustainability objectives. With that, I'd like to show you a short video.
An alarm goes off. A light comes on. A whistle blows. Every morning across the globe, communities go to work. And you make it possible. You move mountains. You harness wind. You make the things that make the day. From electricity to steel. From paper towels to water bottles. If your community needs it, you're working hard to get it to them. And MobilServe is here to help you get the job done, so you can go the extra mile and make smarter decisions for your business and your customers. We're here for you, so you can always be there for your community, every day. MobilServe. We stand with those who make the world work.
So let me give you just one short example of how we bring this to life. There was an global automotive component manufacturer just not too far away from here up in Wisconsin that was looking to reduce their energy consumption and improve their overall efficiency as a part of their sustainability objectives. And they requested the help of our MobilServe team of engineers who performed a full energy efficiency study on their hydraulic pumps. And as a result, together with the customer, our MobilServe team recommended Mobil DTE 10XL 46 to help reduce the company's carbon footprint by over 19 tons per year, saving over $5,000 per pump and reducing downtime by almost 15 hours. And in addition, the customer was able to claim incentives from the state of Wisconsin Focus on Energy program. So this is just one story with many similar endings. And if you're interested in that story, and others like it, I highly encourage you to go to our webpage, club.mobilindustrial.com/IMTS. And we'll be showing that on the screens. And for those of you on the live stream, you'll have access to that as well. So now, the real reason that you all are here is to see our panel with Stewart-Haas Racing and Tony Stewart himself. So without further ado, let me introduce our moderator, Korn from Modern Machine Shops. Derek? Thanks, Derek.
Thank you, Dean. Yeah, I see we go to the same barber, so that's pretty cool. As Dean mentioned, I'm Korn. I'm executive editor for Modern Machine Shop magazine. I'm really happy to be part of this, especially being that I'm the car guy on our magazine staff. So first, thank you for coming today. Thank you for taking time away from the show floor. For those watching the live stream, we appreciate you as well. I think you're going to find this a fun and valuable use of your time today. So let's just get after it. Let's talk about racing. Let's talk about CNC machining. Let's start by introducing our panelists, beginning with three-time NASCAR Cup champion and co-owner of Stewart-Haas Racing, Mr. Tony Stewart. Hey, Tony. Yep. Next up, we have the Director of CNC Operations for Stewart-Haas Racing, Mr. Brad Harris. Yeah, you gotta get the shit in my hand. Finally, we have the equipment builder, engineer for Exxon Mobil, Mr. Ray Salazar. Just a quick housekeeping note here. So we're going to have a microphone set up in the middle aisle. We'll have a Q&A towards the end of the presentation. So as we get towards the ends, if you have questions, just start getting queued up there, and we'll get to all that we can. I'm going to start with a question myself for you guys, because that's how I roll. By a show of hands, how many of you consider your business a job shop? We've got a few there. Okay. Your hand probably should have went up. Right? There you go. So I would think Brad would say that his operation there is job shop, essentially. You all are both dealing with small batches, prototypes maybe, one-offs maybe. You're thinking about setups. How do I speed that? How do I get parts on and off a machine table as quickly as possible? You might not know what job is coming through your door the following day. So there are a lot of similarities there. But beyond machining technology, in Brad's case here with Stewart Haas Machine Shop, yeah, you need a machining, but you also need partnerships and teamwork to develop a quality race car. But then you need a pretty terrific driver if you want to win races, and that's what Tony's been doing his entire career. So I think a good start would be to just see a video of some of his career highlights before we get going here.
Me coming through.
Tony Stewart, three-time NASCAR champion.
Picker flag. Woo!
Tony Stewart wins at Richmond International Raceway.
It's going to sound a bit speechless. Everybody knows I know how to talk. Wants to jump up there and be Billy Bad Bud.
I got Tony Stewart memories.
He wants to about everybody else. And he's the one that drives like a little. I'm going to bust his ass.
He'll be missed in the sport because of his personality and his fire.
We love him for his honesty.
It ticks me off that I gotta sit there and go through this crap. It's not a national holiday, guys. Yes, we're having fun now.
Nobody likes winning more than me. Nobody hates losing more than me.
Tony is not happy.
The new guy gets to buy dinner.
Good thing I'm not a guy then.
It's jackpot time for Tony Stewart.
Getting into victory lane, that's what I wanted to be a part of.
Feel like we can beat him heads up. Carl Edwards better not even take a nap the next 3 weeks. You're so close to me, I'm scared you're gonna kiss me. Thanks, Tony. Thank you.
So Tony, let's start with you. So you've had a lot of success in your career. Kind of how do you do that on a consistent basis?
Surround yourself with good people. That's the biggest key. You know, it's one thing to get in all these different race cars that I've got in during my career, but without good people that know the setups, know what to do, know how to make the right calls at the right time, you're never going to get to victory lane. So surrounding yourself with good people that know their jobs, know how to be efficient with it, that's the biggest key.
Okay. Explain the role that CNC machining in particular has played in your success.
It's huge, and it's bigger now than it's ever been in our sport. I mean, you see what has happened in auto racing in the past, and it trickles down from Formula One down to IndyCar and now NASCAR. The machining side of it is incredible. I mean, we literally, I'm not sure what the percentage of parts that we make in-house, but we make the majority of our parts, and the big parts we make in-house ourselves, and that's something that with as competitive as NASCAR is right now, you don't want to have to outsource parts and buy the same thing that everybody else is buying, or you don't want to have to hire somebody to make the parts that you want, knowing that they might be able to get the same thing. So being able to do it in-house is a big asset for us.
So Brad, talk about that. Talk about your operation there in general, your capabilities, your capacity.
Yeah, right now, I'd just like to echo what Tony said. So one of the things that makes us successful is the people. So, and it starts with the ownership. We have fantastic owners, and and Gene Haas and Tony, and then, you know, so their energy and passion is contagious with everyone in the organization. So that makes it easy for us to attract some really good, talented people. And we have a fantastic group of guys that work in the shop, and so it starts there. The shop itself is like you said earlier, it's really like a fast-paced job shop. You know, we make a variety of different parts and in small lots, so we're always, you know, changing setups constantly, and I don't think we rarely see the same part again, or if we do, it's just another version of it. So there's been some kind of change to it because we're always trying to improve and do better and be more efficient. And so, but the shop itself, we have obviously all Haas machines, which we really like. They're accurate machines, they're versatile and reliable, and so we have 21 machines in the CNC shop itself, and 14 of those are mills, 7 lathes. 10 of the mills are 5-axis capable, and we kind of have a variety of sizes, everything from the VF6 with the big 310 trunnion, which gives us a lot of travel and capacity for the bigger parts, and then we have, you know, a couple 3-axis machines that handle some of the flatter, large parts, and then all the way down to like a VF2 with a 160 trunnion. And the lathes, 4 of those are multi-axis capable and have milling as well.
So you mentioned 5-axis, and I'm sure there's a lot of folks out here that might be doing 5-axis right now or might be thinking about 5-axis. Tell us how you leverage that technology to your advantage.
Well, we really began a big effort with 5-axis when the Stewart-Haas partnership began, and so what it allowed us to do was be able to make more complex parts. It gave the designers more freedom to design more complex, lighter weight, stronger parts, and for us to be able to produce those in a timely manner, because what we do is try to make the parts in one operation, and which minimizes secondary operations, and it allows us to deliver the parts in a more timely manner. Just overall, we can just go straight to machining it. You know, it may take a bigger block of material to achieve that, but we can rough them out pretty quick, and just minimizing those secondary operations. But it also, you know, being able to just rotate those parts in any direction, multi-plane, we can use shorter tools and keep the speeds up, and it'll give us a better finish, a quality part. That's what we look for. And we're always trying to be more efficient, so we've evolved over the years, and really right now is we're in one of those phases. If you went to the shop right now, it would look like a war zone, but that's because we're getting ready to redo the entire shop floor layout, moving machines, adding machines, and we try to keep it really organized and clean, which helps efficiency.
So just real quick, of the 5-axis work that you do, what percentage is just positioning 3+2 versus like full contouring?
Yeah, typically for us the majority, 90% of the time, it's 3+2, just being able to access those various planes on the part. Every once in a while, though, you'll need simultaneous 5-axis. Our engineers, they're very creative, and they can challenge us, it seems like, daily. And but they're really good about feedback. You know, if we notice features on the part that, you know, are just going to be unpractical or beyond difficult, they welcome our feedback and are open to adjustments and corrections. So that helps us also be efficient and make parts that are, you know, delivered on time to the team, so they can get out there and use them and test them and race them.
Right. Yeah. Ray, let's go to you. Talk about you. So you work with Haas Automation quite a bit. Talk about
Correct.
How you've worked with them to improve upon their already good performance.
Okay, thanks for the question, Derek. I'm one of just 25 equipment builder engineers around the globe. Our specific responsibility is to work with OEMs, and I work with Haas Automation. What we essentially do is we work closely with these OEM partners during the development phase of their machines, to make product recommendations to suit the operating conditions, the ambient conditions, what have you. These recommendations we often will put on plates and that will go on the equipment to indicate to the customer what they should be using. We also share a lot of information with our OEM partners. We bring to the table new lubricant technology, things that will make them run more efficient, make their equipment more reliable. By the same token, we look to them for what is happening in their business and in the machine shop world, what's needed, what can Exxon Mobil do in the way of lubricant technology improvements to make their equipment more efficient and more reliable. And we also provide ongoing technical service to our OEMs. Not uncommon for me to be on the phone with Haas engineer like Thomas Velasquez to cover certain things that he may have a question on, or we also may get involved when there's an end user of a Haas machine or another manufacturer's equipment that is having an issue and they want to consult with us to give them some advice.
So I don't know that machine lubrication is always a top of mind for shop owners or managers. What should they consider about that? What should they keep in mind?
Well, I think it's important to keep in mind the role that lubrication plays in making you an efficient and productive machine shop. Lubrication plays a key role in three key areas, which I would say productivity, sustainability, and safety. And if we go back to productivity, how do they do that? Well, what you want, I mean, it was mentioned earlier how you have a lot of things on your mind when you're running a machine shop. Tool changes, a rapid pace of maybe technology changes that you want to implement. We don't want the lubricant to be a problem for you. We want it to last a long time. We want it to be, we definitely want it to protect your investment there. And so a lubricant that has certain properties, wear protection, being able to separate from air rapidly, from water rapidly, in the case of a hydraulic oil, is key. And if it lasts a long time, that's what we're shooting for. And it has to do all of the previous things during that long span of life. These days, there's kind of a next generation, like our Mobil DTE 10XL that Dean mentioned earlier, that brings to the table energy efficiency. That includes also another product line, a synthetic product line called our Mobil SHC 500 series. These products have characteristics and base stock and additive combinations that allow the equipment to run more efficiently. By that, there's energy savings in terms of less electricity used. Should the driver be an electric motor, or should it be a diesel engine, less fuel used? All these in turn go to the next advantage that one I think is important for folks to consider, and that's sustainability. If you're running a product that runs more efficiently and you can use less electricity, well, that's something very common. I walk into a builder office these days, or I would walk into a user office these days. Often what I will see is a mission statement up there, and it's almost a given that that mission statement will say something about being a sustainable company and contributing to the community. Well, that's how you can use our lubricants to help toward that effort. By lengthening oil drain intervals, for example, what are you doing? You're using less oil, so less disposal costs. You're purchasing less oil, so which, you know, from a cost basis, that's good, but it also results in less waste oil generation. So you have those two items, and then that leads to the third item I was mentioning, which was safety. You know, how does lubrication affect safety? Well, if it's doing its job in keeping your equipment running long, keeping equipment protected, you're not changing parts as often, if it's lasting a long time and you're not changing the oil out very frequently, well then you have less human-machine interaction, and that's always a good thing for workplace safety.
So that's a good segue for this next question I want to pose to Brad. You've talked about trying to implement unattended machining, in particular lights out machining more. So what parts lend themselves to that, and how do you go about establishing a reliable lights out process?
That's a good question. So yeah, it's something we've been working on for a while, and you know, we've progressed, and we'll continue trying to improve that aspect, because of course that, you know, reduces labor. And but some of the parts that we do, they take a long cycle time. So those are the ones that typically lend themselves for us to just run them unattended, whether it's during the day shift or overnight. And so, we'll have a lot of parts that are short run. So, we have a second shift that can change those parts, but then we have parts that, in some cases, they may take 20 hours to machine, whether it's roughing or finishing, some of the fine detail work where they're trying to get, every last bit of material off those parts. So, in those cases, we focus on the details. It's about, first you have to have, we've got, like I said, we've got a great group of programmers in there, so you've got to start there because they've got to use their knowledge and experience to create a solid process. And then it's the things like you have to verify the program, simulate it, make sure you know that you're not going to have any accidents. And, because one of the things we try to do is the first part off is good, so that makes it challenging. And especially on some of the more complicated work, as I'm sure many of you know. And, but it's like I said, the details, you've got to have good cutting tools that are high performance, that can last. We use tool break detection in the process. You've got to, manage your chips is a part of it, coolant levels and other fluids. And it lends itself to, what Ray was just talking about, like some of the things you don't necessarily think about, but in a lot of those operations, we're running sustained high RPM for hours at a time. And it would just be a bad time for the spindle to fail when you're not there. And so that's where the Mobil products come in good. They just run. And we come in the morning and hopefully have a good part. And that's what lends us to kind of focus on that for the future.
So Tony, is there any one particular part that stands out in your mind that came from Brad's group that's particularly impressive?
Yeah, I would say for sure that our spindles. I mean, we started making those in-house, and everything that we do with racing, you're always trying to make it stronger and most of all lighter. And even though our cars have to have a minimum weight requirement, and it's easy to do that, still, if we can make the parts lighter, then we can add the weight in the areas that we want to add the weight that make it beneficial to us. So one of those big areas and one of the biggest projects that I can remember in the past has been front spindles for the cars. And I remember I was going to be in an argument with this guy almost because I ran my last race at Homestead, and I said, I want the car exactly how it comes off the racetrack. I'm keeping this car for myself as is. And we got back to the shop, and I remember getting a phone call on either Monday or Tuesday, and they said, yeah, we're going to steal the front spindles off your car. So they had literally just made enough front spindles to get us to the Homestead race. So, that's how fast, and literally we are constantly throwing curveballs at these guys. The engineers are always trying to find ways to make things lighter and stronger. And with that, that's the guys that have to do it at the end of the day. Are the guys that have to spend the long hours after the engineers have went through their part. But it's really a fun process to watch from upstairs where guys are trying to figure out how to make these parts stronger and lighter to make them faster, and then see how they get down to the floor and see these guys knock them out daily. So they got pretty thick skin. I mean, they get thrown a lot of curveballs at some bad times, and when you think your customers want stuff yesterday, we are in an industry where everything has to be done yesterday, so they're always put under the gun. I don't think we ever give you guys a legitimate time where you can let your guard down, because there's just always something coming down the pipeline because of the technology that's involved in our sport. So, but the front spindles for sure was definitely a project that I remember being a really cool project for these guys.
Okay, so Brad, you mentioned those spindles start from what, like a 450-pound billet of steel?
Yeah.
Talk about the challenges machining those.
Well, it was challenging just because of the size of it. It's a big part and heavy, so we had to add a crane to be able to even move them around. And but it starts out that big just because of the nature of the geometry of the part. In order to achieve that, we looked at it in a couple of different ways, whether we were going to start with a rectangular, cube or round, bar stock, and so we did the best we could with that, and that was all part of the challenge. And then, again, we want to get it as quick as we can, so we tried to focus on how can we do this in the least amount of operations, and so that one for sure is the 5-axis part, and we ended up doing it we got it down to 3 operations. 2 would have been ideal, but 3 was the best we could do. But yeah, that one's roughly a 18-hour, 20-hour part, so it's not something you can just spit out in a day. It takes a little bit of effort.
Would that be one that would run overnight?
Yes, yeah, we will load the block and let it go.
So let's switch gears a little bit, and we were talking about your training there at the shop, and in particular, kind of establishing a culture where information is kind of shared freely among everyone. Kind of talk about the value of that.
Yeah, well, like I said before, you know, we have a great group of people that, you know, even when we get, you know, the tight deadlines and pressure to produce, you know, the guys, they love what they do or they wouldn't be doing it. I think a lot of people, I think anyone at this show here this week is that way. They're all here because we love manufacturing, we love what we do, and so we have some great people that are the same way, and so they love to rise to the occasion, and that's part of the fun of it, you know. And we work for a great company, so you know, there's other times we'll get to take some time off when we need it. So, but we encourage a team environment. We're a team, so we like to, you know, have our group share their information and knowledge as that's one of the things that's really helped us progress over the years is, you know, we do continuing training, we leverage our partners. We have some great partners with Mastercam that came on board in the very beginning. We've got Metal that's been there with tooling support. We have a new one, Complete, that they've been there for a couple of years now with simulation, post-processing and simulation software that's been really good. And so they offer, they'll come out on site with us and do continuing training. And then there's, of course, online Mastercam U, and we just encourage that, watching videos. And but the programmers are all in just one office. It's really like a little intimate environment, and they all, you know, whenever they see something new or learn something, they share it with each other. So that helps elevate the entire group. And even if we have just our operator, setup operators, machinists, we encourage them to, you know, take it to the next level. And you know, we've got guys that are willing to help train you and teach you and show you what they need to do. And it's just one of the things that's been rewarding for me over the years is all the young people I've helped and seeing them go from students to excellent expert programmers. So that's been rewarding.
So talking about knowledge sharing here, Ray, you've mentioned the importance of oil analysis. Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Kind of going back to the productivity part, to make the most out of the oil, we highly encourage customers to use a high-quality oil analysis like our Mobil Serve Lubricant Analysis program. Why? Because oil analysis at the end of the day is designed to save you money. It's designed to make sure that the oil is in good condition, that you're able to detect parts that may be wearing unusually in your equipment, and therefore able to maybe head off a problem before it becomes a catastrophe. So in terms of the sustainability part, by being able to do things like that, to keep track of oil condition, being able to keep track of wear metals, et cetera, contamination, you can possibly extend the life of your oil. Well, again, we go back to the fact that you're disposing of less oil. Less waste oil disposal, or less waste oil generation, I should say, is a positive thing in the way of sustainability. And to safety, the same thing. We go to the fact that you're not having to have people in contact with that machine with maybe hot oil or what have you. Just, again, less human machine interaction is always a good thing for the workplace. So how do we go about that, you know, teaching our customers? You know, we have a sales force globally that's probably the best in the industry of sales and lube engineers, and they, like the equipment builder engineers, that group that I work with, we provide training to both builders and to end-use customers on how to implement an oil analysis program. Take a look at identifying what's the critical piece of equipment in your shop. You're not going to be able to, or possibly won't want to, analyze everything, but there are certain pieces of equipment, no doubt, in your shop. Should they shut down, that can put a real strain on production in the facility. So we identify those, then we look to see what kind of analysis, or what kind of goals, I should say, before we look to analysis. What kind of goals are you looking at? Is this going to be routine, making sure that everything is right, and also making the most of the oil, optimizing the oil life? In that case, we want to look at what's the right type of test. There's a basic test slate. I mean, we may need to go to a more advanced test slate that contains particle counts, ultracentrifuge, things like that, to detect maybe precursors for oxidation. Because that could be a major problem. Oxidation might lead to deposits, which could cause sticking and things like that, which of course, at the end of the day, that's going to impact your productivity and the reliability of your machinery. Then we teach how to, take, maybe it sounds simple, but how to correctly take a sample and then encourage that they're sent in on a regular basis. And then I would say second most important is how to interpret those reports once you get them. It's very often they'll get a page with maybe colors and a lot of numbers and not know what to do with them and throw them in the trash can or in the file cabinet, and that's not the way to handle an oil analysis report. So we teach them how to interpret those results, and then once they're able to interpret those results, how to take action. So what do those results mean? What does that bit of silicon mean? Is that something I should be afraid of? Well, if it's dirt, we're certainly going to know because we're going to see corresponding metal wear. If it's a silicon sealant that's leaching out, it's not abrasive and it's not to worry about. So we teach that. Look at the whole report. Look at the trends over time, and don't take action and unnecessary action on one report.
So Brad, you wanted to make sure to say a few words about the importance of your partnership with Exxon and Mobil. So here's your chance to do that.
Yeah, I remember when it was when we first began Stewart-Haas Racing. Mobil 1 was a partner from the beginning, and I remember this is a story about Matt Borland at the time was our technical director, and he came to us in the machine shop and asked us to build. We had to build this pretty elaborate dyno rig to do some drivetrain dyno testing, and I'll just never forget how excited he was about talking about how much of the improvements that we saw from the tests that they did from switching to Mobil from what we had used before. And it was in the engine as well as the transmission and the rear end gear. And that was at the beginning of Stewart-Haas Racing when I remember having 3 great years when that began.
Awesome. So we're going to start the Q&A here in a little bit. So if you have a question, just set up behind the microphone here. Just a couple points, a couple takeaways from me from listening to the guys here. One is, I guess, don't be shy about adopting advanced technology because there are so many partners out there that can help you get up the learning curve quickly. Another is thinking about unintended machining. Not necessarily lights out, but think about the advantages of a machine running on its own. That operator can then maybe tend another machine or possibly do some other value-added task. And then working towards an environment where the knowledge is kind of shared freely among people. There's a tremendous value to that. So if anybody has any questions, that would be great. I don't see anyone lining up right now, but I'm going to ask one because I feel like. Design for manufacturability. So when one of the wacky engineers comes with this crazy geometry, do you work with them to kind of make that a little, to offer advice on how you can simplify it or if you can ease up on a spec or something like that? How does that work?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned that before. What we try to do is we try to make what they design first. That's our first focus. We treat them like a customer, and so we want to make the customer happy. But through the process, we'll usually we'll just identify what could be a potential gain, and then we'll feed that back to them, and then let them make the decision on whether it's worth that compromise. And so, but it's a healthy back and forth, and we don't have anybody there's no animosity or people, they understand what the challenges are, so that's always helpful.
Yeah, check their egos.
Yeah.
Ray, talk about our shops. Are they doing preventive maintenance on their machines enough?
Well, I think that based on what I have seen, if they are doing oil analysis, going back to that topic, that's going to be a huge impact on the level and the amount of preventative maintenance they have to do. I mean, preventative is much better than reactive, and I think by implementing a good oil analysis program and learning how to read those trends, the results of those regular analyses, then preventative maintenance is going to be very helpful. I mean, this is going to contribute to your preventative maintenance program.
Mm-hmm. We've got a question from the audience.
Hello. I'm going to just try to break the ice here so everybody else can stand up, because I really don't know all about the machine shop. I know enough, but Tony, enjoyed your career in NASCAR, phenomenal career. And, a couple questions. One, is Kevin Harvick going to win the championship? That's one, because he's definitely doing the right things, or you guys are doing the right things. Congratulations on that. The other thing is, you talked about how the different, F1 and the different series kind of helped, the technology, and so there's a lot of things that you guys learn that we could implement in our, in our environments. And so how do we gather that information to be able to use that and implement that? You talk about lights out, we do some of that. But, the coolant idea, it seems simple, but it really is a big deal. As an owner, I don't get into all the nuts and bolts, but I do see that there's value there. How do we collect that data or get some of that information to be able to help make those decisions to help the company do better and machine downtime? I hate the emails I get when I say, hey, we have a spindle. We use all Haas equipment, by the way, but every once in a while you have failures. You have a spindle that's, got to be replaced. And more than likely, a lot of times it has to do with lubrication. Not being lubricated properly, things sticking. You mentioned sticking. I've heard that a mechanical switch is sticking, so they got to go in and spend a couple hours in downtime on the machine. So if you could just maybe help us and enlighten me on that. And congratulations, Tony. Thanks. Miss you on the track, though.
I'm still racing. I've ran 68 races this year with my dirt cars. So
yeah.
I tell my guys they're lazy. They've only ran 20 some odd races so far. So, but they're there for 3 days a week, and on that same 3-day weekend, I'll run 3 races where they're there for one event. And if I knew if Kevin Harvick was going to win the championship, I would be extremely wealthy being able to bet on that and be ahead of the game. But it's just so competitive. The sport's more competitive now than it's ever been, and a lot of that is due to technology. And the good thing is we got 25% of the cars that are in the chase are Stewart-Haas racing cars. So we're really proud of that. One thing I can tell you, the stuff that we learned with the race team and our partnership with Mobil 1, everything that you guys see products down the road, the stuff that's in your cars, that's stuff that they learned at the racetrack. And that's truly what the racing program is, from Formula One to drag racing to IndyCar racing, NASCAR programs. That is how all we're the proving grounds for the products. So we not only are they analyzing the lubricants in the shop for what we're doing with the machines, but they're doing the same thing every weekend. So it's great for us. It's not just a paint job on a race car and they write a check and you go down the road and we go race. We actually have someone from Mobil 1 that is at the track over 90% of the races that is constantly analyzing the lubricants from the front to the back of the car and trying to figure out ways to make it more efficient for us, because with the sport so competitive and the way that they keep confining the rules more and more and more, these are areas that we have that we can gain that are free gains for us. So having that partnership with Mobil 1 and the fact that is how they utilize the race team is a really good partnership for us.
A couple of years ago, I'm sorry, Barry shut me off. A couple of years ago, I had a chance to take a tour of your shop, and I saw the machine shop. Obviously, being a Haas guy, beautiful shop, and I did get a chance to see the spindles being made. And I was like, wow, different level, man, of machining. So congratulations to all that. Thank you.
I like to see it when they're done. I don't like to see it when it starts, because I know how much we pay for that big chunk of metal to start with. But I really like the part at the end because it's cool, it's sexy looking, because these guys, to see what they're able to do and with Haas automation machines, I mean, it's really incredible to see how, we can take what Gene has done and if you ever get a chance to go meet Gene later on today and talk to him about how he got started, it's a pretty remarkable story, and you'll sit there and shake your head. You'll realize his sister is the actual saint of the whole operation, because Gene and his sister lived in an apartment together, and he built his first machine in the apartment, and it was running 24 hours a day. So can you imagine being the sister living and smelling that and hearing that all night long? So I know his sister very well. She is definitely a saint, but you can elaborate on it more on
Yeah, I'd like to answer your second question. To get the information, you got to work with your Haas factory outlet, or the Haas factory techs. They can help you. As far as the the lights out, unattended stuff. You know, it's all just about the details. You've really got to, you know, do the preventative maintenance, and you know, it's not easy. You know, it's not perfect, but you know, that's what we want to strive for. So, like I said, for us, even we're continuing to try to do better with that. And you know, Haas, I saw, you know, they have new technology they've introduced even here at the show. You know, they've got the coolant chiller for the spindle now. That's new, and they've got a new minimum lubrication. And so they're always adding, you know, they've got the coolant mist condenser that's been refined, and that's one of the great things about Haas is they're always, you know, trying to improve their product, and so you know that's what we try to do as well, and so we don't run 24 hours a day nonstop because we're, you know, it's prototype basically is what we do, prototype and low production. So I know there are operations that the factory at Haas, they have it figured out better than we do in the race shop. So they have some great information that I'm sure they'd be happy to share with any one of the customers.
All right, we're going to take one last question from the audience.
Yeah, I was wondering, he mentioned the playoffs, and how does that affect your production schedule going in, having all these cars in the playoffs? What does that do to you on the shop floor as far as producing parts for all these race cars?
Man, I wish you wouldn't have reminded him of that. He starts sweating a lot when he thinks about this.
Well, it's really, this is the slowest time of the year for us because if they don't have the cars figured out by now, then we can't help them. So, but yeah, they'll still continue to throw some curveballs at us, but we'll take it in stride. But yeah, mostly they've got a pretty good handle on what they need to do for the next 10 races.
All right, so I have one question. So I'm leading up to this event, and I know Tony Stewart's going to be here. I'm going to meet him. It's like, what do you ask a guy? He's probably been asked every question under the sun. So my question is, what is the dumbest question you've been asked? and is it this one?
No, it's actually a pretty smart question, actually. The funny one is, you know, I'm still at a lot of the NASCAR races. There's a lot of them that I'm not at because I'm still actively racing. But the one that still gets me, and you know, for a hospitality appearance and nobody really wants to ask questions, I'll always ask the females that are in the suite or tent or wherever we're at, what the one question they've always wanted to know and never had the opportunity to ask. And then inevitably, one of them will, and they all smile when you say that. And when they smile, I know they're all thinking the exact same question. And every female always wants to know, what do you do if you have to go to the bathroom while you're in the middle of the race? Which is not really the dumbest question, but it's probably the most frequent question that seems dumb. And the doctors will tell you just have to go. So that's why when you see driver introductions at a race, then you'll see all the drivers when they get out, they go across the stage, they get in the vehicle, they go around, wave to the crowd, and when they all get off the vehicle, they all disappear like ants. They're all looking for the closest restroom or porta-john because it's just like when we were kids and your parents said, listen, we're going on a trip and we're not stopping. So go to the bathroom now or you're going to be in trouble. So that's what they all do. Everybody goes to the bathroom and we can all make it for 3.5, 4 hours.
That's awesome. That's it, guys. So I just want to thank you again for participating in this, attending. Everyone on the live stream, appreciate you too. Let's just, before we scurry off, let's give a round of applause to Tony, Brad, and Ray.
Well done.
I think Dean has a couple more words to say here, but thank you for attending. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot one more time to Derek, Ray, Tony, and Brad for joining us up here. I think the two biggest takeaways, well, maybe three. One is Derek, barber, so I caught that one. The second is that Tony is a very demanding customer on his parts shop. And three is the importance of valuable lubrication and lubrication techniques is critical to the operation. So for those of you that are staying around here in the room, Tony will be signing autographs over here to my left. And for those of you, and also on the live stream, thank you for joining us. Please visit us at club.mobilindustrial.com/IMTS to learn more about our best practices, strategies, and educational tips for hydraulics. from cutting fluids to cleanliness to energy efficiency. So thank you again for all of you joining us today, and wish you the best at IMTS.